Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to make this blanket. Now this blanket measures about 50 inches by 30 inches, so it would be a large baby blanket or a cot bed blanket, but of course in this pattern will tell you how to make it bigger or smaller. And yeah, so let's begin. Okay, so the yarn we're going to be using for this blanket is actually Bergere de France Cherie yarn, and this colour is Evasion. And now this yarn was actually the same yarn that I used for my petal trim tunic. You should see a picture over the top. But unfortunately, this is one of the perils of buying yarn online. I actually wanted it to be a grey colour, and it's actually a green colour, slight sort of greeny grey. And I didn't really like wearing the petal trim tunic in that colour, so I completely frogged it. But the stitch that we used in that design had such a lovely drape that I actually thought it would make a fantastic blanket. So we're going to turn it into a blanket, just a slightly different pattern, and one I'm going to do on video. So you're going to need about 8 to 10 balls of 50-gram balls of this Bergere de France Cherie yarn, or similar. We're going to be using, so we're probably going to end up needing more than this actually. I've got another ball somewhere. I'm going to be using a 5.5mm crochet hook, and also going to need some scissors and a yarn needle as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work some double crochet foundation stitches. Now I'll put a link in the description to the video that I have done in more detail on how to do the double crochet foundation stitch, but I will show you here as well. So we're going to be using our 5.5mm crochet hook, and this is actually a DK light worsted weight yarn. So first things first is we're going to chain 2. And it might seem like quite a big hook for the size yarn we're using, but it really does create a really nice drape at the end. So I'm going to chain 2, so that's 1 and 2 to begin. And to do the double crochet foundation stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over as if doing a double crochet, and we're going to put our hook into our first chain. So let's put our hook, we're just going to catch that top piece of yarn there and grab our yarn and bring it through. So we've got 3 loops on our hook. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, or technically just bring the yarn through the first loop. So we still have 3 loops. And then that creates our foundation chain really. And then we just work a double crochet as normal. So we yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So a normal double crochet stitch. And that creates our first double crochet foundation stitch. And as you can see on the left hand side here, we've created a stitch. So to work our next double crochet foundation stitch, we just yarn over, and we're going to put our hook into that stitch on the left hand side. You want to make sure that you catch 2 bits of yarn like that, as if you were going for a normal stitch. And like I said, I've done a video in more detail on this. It goes a little bit slower, so if you're struggling to keep up, then do check out that video. So bring your yarn through that stitch, and we do the same again. We just pull through the first loop to create our foundation stitch, and then that leaves us 3 loops still, and we do a double crochet as normal. So pull through 2 and pull through 2, just a normal double crochet. And now you can see we've got another stitch on the left hand side. There's our first stitch there, and we've just created another one there. So we do yarn over, and this time we're going into that second stitch on the left. So you want to make sure you go through that first bit of yarn and then through that second bit of yarn, and just pull your yarn through there like so. So you've got 3 loops. Then we just yarn over and pull for the first loop to create our foundation chain, and that leaves us 3 loops still. And then we yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So you do double crochet as normal, and now you've got a 3rd stitch. So there was our first, there's our second, now we've just created that 3rd one. So we do the same again, you yarn over, and go into that stitch on the left hand side. I usually just pop it through that first loop and then try and grab the second loop. Sorry about the background noise, by the way. Like so. Then we just bring our yarn through there. So we've got 3 loops, and then we do our yarn over pull for the first loop, so we get our foundation chain. Yarn over pull through 2, pull through 2. So I'm going to repeat this quite a few times until I've got a length that I'm happy with, and then I'll come back and tell you how many double crochet foundation stitches I've actually done, so you can follow the same size if you want to. So again, we yarn over and we go into that next stitch, put it through that first loop, put it through that second loop, bring the yarn through. So we've got 3 loops, and we create our first loop, and then we do our double crochet as normal. Okay. And then into the next one. Okay, so I've just repeated those steps, making some double crochet foundation stitches, just working into the side stitch. Then you do like a chain 1, you just bring it for the first loop, and then you do a double crochet as normal. And I've done that 165 times because the pattern we're going to be working to is going to be a division of 5, and we need to end on an odd 5. So for example, you want to work to say 155, or in this case 165, so on and so forth. So this is quite long, but it's not going to be a massive blanket. I'll overlay this video with the exact measurement in inches for you as well, so that should be appearing right now because I'll measure this. But what we're going to do now, like I said, we're going to be working in 5s. We're going to do 5 closed stitches and 5 open stitches, and what I mean by that is the first thing to do is we're going to chain 2, and this is going to count as a double crochet. So just chain 2, and that's going to count as a double crochet. Then we're going to turn and start working in the opposite direction. I'm going to do yarn over, because we're going to start off with 5 closed stitches. So we've got our first double crochet there, which links up to that first stitch there. So we go into this second stitch along now and work a double crochet. Technically we've got 2 double crochet now. We're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch as well. So that's 3, and then double crochet in the next stitch, and get some more yarn, and a double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so we've just chained 2, and then we've done 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So in total we've got 5. So you don't want to work into that first stitch because we've got those 2 double crochets counting as a double crochet in that one. So we've got chain 2, then 1 double crochet in the next 4, and that equals 5 closed stitches. Now we're going to work some open stitches over the next 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1, and then in the next stitch we do a double crochet. So that then counts as 2 stitches because you've chained 1, skipped 1, then 1 double crochet. I'm going to do that again, so we're going to chain 1, skip 1, then 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to chain 1 and then skip 1. So then that equals 5 open stitches because we've created this little pattern here where we've chained 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1. And then we go back to our closed stitches. So remembering to skip 1, in the next stitch we do a double crochet. This is going to be our next lot of 5. So that's 1, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 5. So that's the first 1 double crochet, then 1 double crochet in the next 4. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do 5 closed stitches this time. So we've done 5 closed at the beginning, but including that chain 2. And then we've done 5 open stitches where we've been skipping some, and then we did 5 closed stitches again. So that's just 5 double crochets over the 5 stitches. And then we're going to go back to doing the open stitches again. So what we do is get some more yarn, is we chain 1, chain 1 and skip 1, then 1 double crochet, then chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, that equals 4, and then we end on a chain 1, skip 1 again. And there we go, we've got a couple of sets. Then we've got 5 closed stitches, including our chain 2, 5 open stitches, 5 closed stitches, then 5 open stitches of just chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1. And then after our skip 1, we go back to doing our 5 double crochet again. So you want to repeat this all the way to the end, doing 5 closed, 5 open, 5 closed, 5 open. So like I said, after your skip 1, you're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 5, and then you're going to go back to your open stitches of just chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1. So you end up back here again. And at the end, you should end up on a set of closed stitches. So just keep going until you run out of stitches, but you should end up on 5 closed stitches. That's why you need to work to an odd 5 numbers, so 155, 165, 175. That's so you can add the extra 5 closed stitches on the end. So I'm just going to do that to the end, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've just got to the end, and like I said, I finished. You should finish on 5 double crochets, so the last 5 should be a closed block. So all I've done is I've just literally just repeated the same system over and over again. I just chained 2 at the beginning, and then we did 1 double crochet in the next 4, so that adds up to 5, including the chain 2. Then we did our open stitches of chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, which equals up to 5 as well. Then we did 5 double crochet closed, and then we did the open 1 stitches again, and then 5 closed, 5 open, 5 closed, 5 open, 5 closed, so on and so forth. And when we get to the end, we end on 5 closed, 5 double crochet. So all we're going to do is we're just going to repeat this pattern over and over and over again. We want to match up our closed stitches with the open stitches. So for the next row, all we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, which again is going to count as a double crochet. So it's going to count as a stitch. I'm going to turn our work, so chain 2, and then that equals that stitch there. So we don't work into that first stitch because we're counting those 2 chains as a double crochet. So we're going to ignore that and go into the next stitch. I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the next 4. So that's 4 double crochet and a chain 2, which add up to our 5. So double crochet in the next 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, like so. So we've done 5 closed stitches, so including those chain 2, then we did 1 double crochet in the next 4, so that equals our 5 altogether. And as you can see, we're now to our open stitches. We do the same again. We just chain 1, and then we skip our chain 1 below, and in that next stitch, top of that double crochet there, we do another double crochet in that stitch. So our double crochets line up like that. Then we chain 1, skip a stitch, so we're skipping that chain 1 in between, then we're doing a double crochet in the top of that double crochet, so in the next stitch. That equals 4 stitches. So chain 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we chain 1, which equals our last stitch, 5, and skip that chain 1 there, and then we're back to our 5 double crochet closed stitches. So we do a double crochet in the next 5 to go back to doing our closed stitches. So 1 double crochet in the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So always working in units of 5, so always try and remember that. So there we go, we've got our chain 2, then we did 1 double crochet in the next 4, so that equals our 5 closed stitches. And we did chain 1, skip 1, which was the chain 1 below, and 1 double crochet in the next stitch, which is the top of the previous double crochet, then chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1. That equals our 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 open stitches. And then we did 1 double crochet in the next 5, which match up with our 5 from the previous row. So hopefully that makes sense. We're just going to repeat that all the way to the end. So now we're going to do our open stitches, and then we go back to our closed, open, and then closed, all the way to the end. And they should all line up, so you should end up on 5 closed stitches at the end, because you get all the way back to the beginning, you should see you've got your 5 closed stitches here. So I'm just going to get to here, and then I'll show you the very last 5, because you need to do your last double crochet in the top of your 2 chain. So I'm going to just crochet to the last 5 and then come back and show you. Okay, right, so open stitches, so chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Okay, so I've just got to the last 5. I've just finished doing my chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1. So then with the last 5, we go into the next stitch after our skip 1, do 1 double crochet. That's in the next 4. So that's 2, 3, and 4, and then you reach your chain 2 from the beginning of your last row there. So we do our very last, we've only done 4 double crochets, so our last one goes in the top of our 2 chain. So we do yarn over, and what I do is I just bring the hook down to find that top of our chain 2. There's the first, there's our first chain, there's our second chain. So yarn over, just come underneath and grab that first bit of yarn and move over to the other side and just grab that second, come between those 2 bits of yarn. There we go. Then we just bring our yarn through and do our double crochet as normal, and that's our last double crochet in the top of our 2 chain. That completes our last 5 closed set. So there we go, we've just repeated the same pattern. They should all line up, all your 5 sets. And we're just going to repeat this over and over and over and over again, basically, to make your blanket until you're happy with the length. So I'm just going to repeat this, and then I'll come back and tell you how many rows that I've actually done of this pattern. And then the very, very last row, we're just going to do a similar finishing like we did at the beginning here of just double crochets. So we just start the next row with our chain 2, and then we turn, and then we do 1 double crochet in the next 4, and we count these chain 2 as a stitch. So we don't go into that first stitch because we're counting these 2 as a stitch. We go into the second, and we do 1 double crochet in the next 4, including our chain 2 equals our 5 closed set. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat this over and over and over again until I'm happy with the length, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so then for the next bit, I've just done my 5 closed. We do our 5 open of chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the top of the same double crochet there, then chain 1, skip 1, then 1 double crochet in the top of our same double crochet from the previous row, and chain 1, skip 1, and then we're back to our closed set. Okay. hi everybody. So what might seem just a few seconds after the beginning of this video, the last part of the video, it's actually been a good couple of weeks. I really wish I could just crochet as quickly as this. But all I've done is I've just repeated the same pattern of the gaps and then the stitches together, and I've done 58 rows all in all, 59 including the initial foundation row. So, and as you can see, it's quite big, and I basically just kept going until I ran out of yarn, and I've got just enough yarn left to do the last row, which is a bit different, and I'll show you now. But this measures, as you can see, it's quite a lot of it. This measures how much does this measure? I've forgotten now. I think it was about 50 inches in length, and I think it was 30 inches in width. Let's just quickly measure. But that would make a really large, quite a large baby blanket, or it would work as a cot bed blanket as well. So yeah, it would have been 30 inches. So yeah, it's to be a nice big baby blanket or a cot bed blanket. But of course, if you've got more yarn, you can just literally just keep going and going, repeating the same pattern until you've got the length that you design. Obviously, if you want to make it wider, so wider in this direction, all you need to do is to work to a division of 5. And so you want to, I don't know how many, because I can't remember the beginning of this video, but I think we chained, was it 65 at the beginning? Let me just count. Okay, so I've just counted again. It's actually 165. So I thought it was 65. It's actually a lot longer than that. 165. And you need to work to like a sort of an odd set of 5. So for example, don't work to the 10. So don't do 160 or 170, 180, because you need to make sure that you start with stitches together and you want to end with the stitches together, otherwise you're going to end on a gap and it's not going to work. So if you want to make this longer, you could do, instead of 165, you could do 175, 185, 195, so on and so forth, and that makes sure that you end up ending on a set of stitches together. So where we are now is on the last row, and if I can find my hook underneath all this, is probably one of the biggest videos I've actually, one of the biggest patterns I've actually done on a video. But I've just got to the end, and all we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same as we've been doing before. We're just going to chain 2. So you need to make sure you've got probably about that much yarn left just to do the last row, depending on obviously how wide you've done your blanket to begin with. If you've worked to the same pattern as me, you need about that much left. So then we turn, so we chain 2 and then we turn. We do exactly the same before. We're going to do a double crochet, not in this first one here underneath our chains, but the next one along. So we go into there and then do a double crochet in the next 3, just like before, as if you were doing another row. Like so. And when you get to your gaps again, instead of chaining 1 and then doing a double crochet, we're actually just going to carry on doing double crochets all the way across. But instead of doing the double crochet, instead of doing chain 1 or a double crochet into that chain 1, we're just going to go straight into the big gap, the big space there. So in that one chain space, we're going to do a double crochet like so. And then all we do is the same as before. We do a double crochet in the top of our previous double crochet. So just go into that stitch as normal, like so. And then again, we want to do a double crochet in the one chain space. So just go put your hook in that big space there, and then just work a double crochet as normal. And the next one, we do it in the top of our double crochet. And the very last one we do in the chain space. So just go into that chain space So it looks a little like that, and then it just creates a nice finish that matches the very, very beginning there, like so. And then we just carry on. Let's move this out of the way so you can see all on a normal background. It's really difficult to do, it's a big project. And then we just carry on as normal over the next 5. So do 1 double crochet in the next 5 stitches as normal, just like before. Just going into that stitch. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like so. And then again, when you get to the next gappy section, we just do a double crochet in the 1 chain space, just wrap it around, and then we do it in the stitch above our previous double crochet. And the next one we do in the chain space, so just put the hook through the big gap and do your double crochet, and then double crochet in that stitch above the previous double crochet, and the last one goes into the chain space, like so. As you can see, it creates a nicer finish on the edge. And just repeat that all the way across, just doing double crochets in every stitch, and when there isn't a stitch you do it in the 1 chain space until you get to the other end, and then that's your final row, your finishing row. So I shall just keep doing this until I'm all the way across, and then I shall come back. Always make sure to catch that last one. Going back into the chain spaces. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the last 10 stitches, and I've got one of those situations where that's all the yarn I got left, and I really hope this is just enough. Oh, I always end up in this situation. I don't want to have to undo another row. And let's see. So then we go into our chain space, and then into the stitch at the top of the previous double crochet, then back into our chain space, and I'm running out of yarn. Oh. Okay. I've got 5 left. Will I do it? Will I do it? Will I do it? This is where you have to start crocheting tighter to make sure it fits. 2, 3, 4. That's all I got left. One more. 5. Look at that. Yay! And then I'm just going to pull the yarn through to finish. Oh, look at that. That is so lucky. Oh. Okay, so there we go. There is our finished blanket. And like I said, initially we were working with 165 stitches, and I've done all in all from the very first foundation row, then doing our pattern rows, and then finishing off on this row. Comes to 60 rows. So I'm just going to fold this up, and then you can see it nicely folded up. Okay. Oh, I also want to tie in any ends as well. I can't speak. Tie in any ends as well. Neaten those off with a yarn needle. So I'll just do that now, actually, so you can see. Just thread that onto our yarn needle. Then what I do is, the first thing I do is actually go to the back and then just come up slightly below the finishing stitch, just to knot that into place. That's nice and neat. And then there's no right side or wrong side really, so I'm just going to just go for a few stitches, just anywhere along our stitches, and I'm going to come back in the opposite direction, obviously not through the bit I just came out of, so otherwise it will come undone, and then just go along here. And then I'm just going to trim the excess. And I've got a lot of, because I was using a yarn that I'd used previously, I've got a few of these sort of bits here where I joined some yarn. So you might, if you have the same thing, you might want to tidy those up. But I'm just going to fold this up now and then you can see the finished article. Okay, so there's our finished blanket all folded up lovely, and it's just so soft. I mean, this wouldn't be my choice of colour for a baby blanket. I would obviously choose something a much more pastel colour, something either blue or pink or yellow or something really nice. This is a little bit more grown up colour, but it's a really lovely yarn to use. What's nice about this is it's really soft, but I feel like because it's got the sort of cotton in, I think it would be quite hard wearing. This is actually Bergere de France Cherie yarn, and it does come in different colours, much more suitable baby colours as well. This is actually, the colour for this is Evasion, which I actually thought was a grey colour. It was actually green. That's the problem when you get obscure yarn colour names like Evasion and you're buying online. But I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and like I said, you can make this bigger or smaller. You can make these into like little washcloths if you wanted to, and just work to units of 5, but make sure you end on an odd, so like 25 or 35 rather than 20 or 30, so don't work to a 10, work to a 5. That's so you can get the correct beginning and ends like that. So you'd have like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, or if you wanted to come in 5, 10, 15. You see what I mean? But I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and I hope you managed to follow along, and I shall see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Okay, so let's open this up and you can actually see how big it is. Nubbins that I need to sew in. So yeah, see it's quite big. There we go. Cheers guys, see you soon, bye.